UFC 325. This is the DFS Breakdown video. It's your boy Hazel MMA. Let's get right into it, man. So first, let's recap last card. As you can see, we took down the mini max. Gaethje, Silva, Nikita, Perez, Hogan, and Miller. Um, I told you guys in the video I was high on that fight, the Nikita fight. He ended up coming through for us. Um, Hogan I liked. Miller, and then Gaethje, man. What a crazy fight in the main event. I mean, Patty to come out there and just strike with Gaethje is insane. Horrible game plan from Patty, but I mean, you got to give it up to Gaethje. He's a legend, man. He's still showing in 2026, man. You can't count out Gaethje. You can't count out these old heads. So you know, it was pretty good. It was a solid card. You know, the split was bigger than what we hoped for, but it's only 11 fights, so we'll take it, man. But let's get into this card this week. So we got Volk and Lopez. Let's pull it up right here. This is gonna be a interesting card. Got 14 fights so far, which with DFS we love. It's gonna be less dupes. Ownership would be spread out more. Um, so I'm gonna do this video a little different. I'm gonna give you guys, some of my favorite pay up options and some of my favorite dogs that I like. And at the end, I will build a lineup for you guys. So the first fight I want to talk about. Let's start with the pay up options. So you got Taliesin, Quillen, Benoit, Cam Roston. These four pay up options, I will be overweight too. You got Taliesin, Teixeira, and Bam Bam. You got that fight. Let's see, you got it. It's minus 1,000 to finish. So, we're definitely going to have to target that fight. Um, I would definitely be overweight to Taliesin. Last fight against Lewis. I mean, it's Derek Lewis. It was a weird stoppage. I'm not gonna hold him for this matchup. Um, I think he has upside uh, in this matchup, so I'll be overweight to him. You got Quinlan here at 9.7. For me, I think it's gonna be tough to get up to that price point. I would rather pay down for Benoit. You know, every win, 100 plus. He got the takedown upside, and in this matchup, Dan Hooker, he gets taken down. He can be taken down. So I definitely think we could see a big score from Benoit in this matchup. And then you got Cam Roston versus Brundage. Every Cody Brundage fight we have to target. It's gonna go one way. And in this matchup, I think Roston he's gonna have the reach advantage, the height advantage, and I think he can keep Brundage in that boxing range, and just pick him apart with the jab and straight rights, and I think he can find a finish. I wouldn't be surprised if Roston found a finish at 9-3. So I'll definitely go with the Roston, and I think these four will be the most popular pay ups, but for good reason. Again, I'm probably leaning Benoit first, probably Taliesin second, then Ralston third, then Quillen. But I don't have strong lanes. I would be overweight to all four of these guys. Another favorite that I kind of like that I think could score well his ownership should be in check is Dalmar Fine. So let me go to my notes in this one. So for Dom, he's a relentless grappler, solid takedown, strong control time, and his only two losses is from Quillen. So he's a solid prospect, and I think in this matchup, man, he can get the takedowns. He's going against a guy in Kim. He's a solid pressure fighter. From the film that I watch. Let me go to this fight. Yeah, from the film that I watched, Kim, he likes to, get in your face. He's a solid boxer, solid pressure fighter. But I just think Dom can find takedowns here. And at 8'7", man, he could be a pivot in that top range that I think we can target. And looking at that fight is, let's see. Let me, wrong card. Looking at that fight, I believe the odds got over 170 under. So it's not favored, to end, but I do think, he could rack up takedowns in this matchup. And at 8'7", I think he would be a pivot, in that upper range. Another guy that I like is Billy. Billy versus Tafa. I definitely think we should target this fight. Tafa, we know what's up with Tafa. All he do is throw big bombs. He has no ground game, and all his fights end in a finish. This fight I believe is. Let's see what this is. This got to be under plus 115. We got what is it to go to the minus 410. Yeah, so I like Billy up here. He could easily get takedowns, and he could find a finish on the feet. He has solid hands too. So I definitely think if we go back out, I think these are the guys we should be targeting. These five right here, I would be overweight to in multiple lineups. I think they all can put up 100 plus. Now let's talk about some dogs that I like. First dog we're gonna talk about is Diego Lopez. Got the main event. 7-7 versus what? So you got the main event here. Getting a call. Sorry about that. Got the main event, Diego versus Volk. Yeah, man. In this matchup, the first fight, I just don't think Lopez went in there respecting Volk. And, Volk, Volk at this point in his career, he still can, put on a good performance. He still has great striking, and he seems to still have a chin. um, Even after the Taporia and Islam losses, he still proved that, hey, I still can go out there and put on a Volk performance. But if you go back and watch that fight, it was all the moments, all the biggest moments came from Lopez. He was the one actively trying to finish the fight. He was the one pushing forward, and I just think he's gonna get him this time, man. Volk is my favorite fighter, but I just think it's too much, man. I think Lopez is gonna find a chin here and clip Volk and get 100 plus. And at 7'7", we're gonna need it. So I will be overweight to Lopez, and under to Volk. Last week I was over on Patty and under on Gaethje, and I still won with the Gaethje lineup. So you know, I wouldn't say it doesn't matter who you like what side you're on, but I would say lean aside. So for me, I'll probably 70-30, 60-40 Lopez. But I definitely think we should. I think Lopez is kind of a must play, man. I really do think he's going to get him out of there. And yeah, another dog that I like is Cody Branich. You know, Cam Roston, man, he's solid, but he it's still we still got to see it. He was coming off a loss to Torres Finney in the Contender Series, and Finney is in a world beater, so you know Brundage here, he's not the worst. He can get takedowns. He has power in his hands, and the fight is what it's minus 600 to finish. So I definitely love Brundage at 6'9". He could just break the slate with 100 plus, and you're just gonna have to have him. So I would definitely be overweight to Brundage here. Um, Another dog that I think is solid is Aaron Ty. So let me pull this fight up. Sorry if I butcher his name, but we just gonna call him Bat Buyer. You got Bat Buyer versus Aaron. This is a road to UFC final, and in these matchups, man, when you get these road to UFC final matchups, it's more violence than normally the regular UFC fights. These guys come out aggressive, trying to get that big, the big win and the contract. So in this fight, you got Aaron Tao. He's a aggressive striker. I mean, he just comes out, just guns blazing, just coming to take your head off. And same with his opponent, a bet buyer. They both have solid striking. They're both aggressive. And I think in this matchup, we're gonna see the finish. I got the under 1.5 is plus 140. I think it could be, juice bet down a little bit. I definitely think we could see a finish here. And again, these road to UFC fights, they like they produce more violence than normally. So I would say pay attention to Aaron. Don't sleep on my boy Aaron this week. He's a he's a sneaky play. Um, then one more dog that I kinda like. It's gonna be tough. Is Oban Elliott. I just think he's gonna be popular. Too popular than what he should be. But I mean, I definitely like Oban here. I think he's the way better striker in this matchup. I like that he puts the pressure on opponents, and he's a dog, man. Like he's one. We know Oban gonna fight for our money, and in this matchup, I definitely think he has the upside to score pretty well, and pay off that price. So these are some of the dogs and favorites that I'm liking so far. To start the week. Um, let's build a little lineup. Close it out. So let's start with. We got to start with Lopez, right? Start with Lopez. I'm jamming Benoit. I'm probably jamming. This is for sure gonna be my little core. You know, for good reason. I think it'll be pretty chalky, but there's ways to get different after this. But I think this is the core we're gonna roll with. I will be overweight to this core. This is gonna be my main core right here. Um, got 8K left. We need a dog. Um, let's throw in. Let's throw in my boy Aaron. Another dog that I like in this matchup, well, like on this card is Lawrence. So Lawrence, go to my notes. I believe, give me a second. Yeah, he has strong wrestling. He wants to get the fight to the mat. Um, solid wrestling. Pressure wrestling style. He's a gritty fighter, you know. He's a dog. And I think in this matchup, if he find the takedowns, it could get interesting at 7-2. And you got that fight. The odds to what's the odds for that fight to finish? Under 2.5 is -120. So yeah, we're definitely gonna have to target this fight. I definitely like the Lawrence side for his takedown upside. So let's plug in him. You got 8-9 left. You know, you can do whatever in this last spot. Go Billy. Go my boy Dom. And this I'm gonna go my boy Dom because I think his ownership will be kind of in check. You know, you got Easer right here. I think it's gonna get some ownership. And, you know, Billy's for sure gonna get ownership. So I think my boy Dom can find takedowns here, man. But you know, you could plug in either him or Billy. I think the chalk play will be Billy. I think there's something you could ride with. You know, you want to leave some money, go down to Dom. But yeah, man, that's how we looking. I love this card. 14 fights. That mean ownership. You know, usually it's spread out enough to where it's less dupes. So, um, yeah, man. I will drop another video on Friday after the weigh-ins just to make sure we don't have any fights canceled. Hopefully not. Hopefully we keep all 14. I think this card is gonna be better than the first one. I think we're gonna see way more violence. But yeah, man. If you enjoyed, please leave a like. Make sure you comment, subscribe, and yeah, man. I'll see you guys on Friday.